False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm John Buhler, staff writer, fansided.com. I'm joined today by a man who knows the names of all 101 Dalmatians, probably didn't get himself locked inside somebody else's apartment this weekend, but may know where the continuum trans functioner is. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. How the hell are you?
Dude, me and 101 Dalmatians go way back. That is I believe my favorite movie from like ages like 2 to 4, according to my mother. Except Dalmatians when you're 2 to 4, not exactly the easiest word to come by. So that's Rough Roughs in our house. I want to watch Rough Roughs.
I'm watching two Rough Roughs now, and we're having a rough time. uh, but yeah, I would say I was more of a Return of Jafar and Stone of the Sword household. That's what we watched a lot.
Dude, Return of Jafar was an absolute banger. That straight to video Aladdin sequel, it went hard.
Oh my God. I remember we're going to Disney for my sister. So I was like 9 or 10 and she was like 4. We watched it like every day to get ready. And I just couldn't prepare for it. It was like uh, I was doing work in the yard and they're doing work behind me. I don't know. I feel like I'm in a post-apocalyptic hell, but story time for Bueller. I'm going to false start a little bit. So yesterday afternoon, right when I was done with my shift, we work on Sundays about 3:45 Eastern time. Starts raining here in Midtown Atlanta. Uh, Wind's blowing pretty good, and the transformer there over by Piedmont Park exploded, and then a tree fell down a bunch of power lines. So me and the Arizona State podcast and these two dogs were stuck in this apartment because like you have to use like a key fob to get in and out.
Oh my God.
The AC went out and she was sleeping and didn't realize what happened. I'm telling Mark Powell, like, yeah, I can't work right now. My phone's about to die and my laptop's about to die. And she was freaking out. At about 6:30, she was like, okay, we got to pack up everything and go back to our apartment, which is about 10 minutes away. We're bringing these two dogs that never been there before to our place. And this is the one where the one that likes to burrow under and sleep under the bed. So I'm carrying
Yes.
this giant dog bed and a bunch of other stuff outside this apartment. We're trying to see if we can get out of the gate in the back, but again, it's mechanized and it starts raining. And I'm like, she's gonna leave me here. And it's like awful. I'm like, am I gonna have to climb a fence?
Oh my
with
God.
So we try to go out the front door and it wouldn't open. And we see this guy who looks like a keeper of the continuum trans functioner show up running through the rain. All of a sudden the power comes back on and he opens the door and we're sitting there with like a dog bed and like 4 different things.
Oh my God. That was basically Chevy Chase from Hot Tub Time Machine. He's like, "You want to go? It's ready."
Yeah, I'm on my way home with Motley Lou.
That's right.
Yeah,
Had to go home and make a quick Lugal.
I know, man. Dude, I feel like they're like really seriously tearing down the place behind me. It's absolutely insane. I'm not seeing the people outside with the the leaf blowers with they're laundering money here. They may have a wrecking ball back here. It's absolute madness right now.
I mean, the good news is I can't hear it. I'm assuming that means the viewers at home cannot hear it. So really, if you break it down, you're the one who looks insane because no one else knows what you're talking about because we can't hear it.
Just gaslight me into oblivion here. I'm sure that that dumb dip ass back there is going to hit the internet cable with his backhoe.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's a given. You got to expect at least 2 or 3 cords to get cut when they're doing yard work.
Well, that's kind of what happens when they're building new fields out there in the Big 12. Obviously, we false started a little bit, and it's going to be our first in 15 with the Big 12 preview for today. But yeah, we're going to start here with gosh, can't even find my stupid thing. It's literally Madness. Yeah, we're going to start with the Paul Finch and the definitely maybe. Okay, Cody. You start with your Paul Finch in the Big 12. Who is wearing that satin kimono?
Yeah, I'm going with UCF and Gus. I know you like fading Gus is not a profitable proposition. Like we both think Gus Malzahn's a good head coach. There's a reason he still had as much work as he has throughout his career. There's a reason he's had as much success. It's just it goes up and down. It's never a straight line. It is a roller coaster of a ride with Gus Malzahn. They brought in KJ Jefferson from Arkansas to be the quarterback. And I understand that KJ Jefferson at his ideal form is the perfect quarterback for a Gus Malzahn offense. This is not KJ Jefferson at his ideal form. We've seen injuries pile up for him over the past few years. We've seen this UCF roster like improve around him, but if the quarterback doesn't work in a Gus Malzahn offense, then nothing works. And so like I was looking at the odds this morning for the Big 12. UCF is either the third or the fourth favorite to win the Big 12. I just think that's a little rich for my taste, man. Like I just don't think that they're in that same stratosphere.
Yeah, I get there with UCF. They weren't mine, but I was thinking about this. So back in college, I used to have this thing where like anytime somebody's first name was like something J, it would always be blank Jesus. So um like EJ Manuel was Electric Jesus.
Electric Jesus, let's go.
um CJ Spiller was Crazy Jesus, and
Yeah.
KJ Jefferson, that is Kangaroo Jesus. You know, the idea of a
Mhm.
kangaroo is better than the real thing, which I think is UCF football right now. Gus Malzahn's out there. He's like, let's go, boys. Let's go, boys. Come on, let's go. And then KJ's over there trying to punch him or hopping around on the field, going 6-6, which is what I have them going.
Yeah, yeah.
that
Kangaroo Jefferson, I like it.
is perfect. So my Paul Finch, that would be the BYU Cougars. I have them going 4-8 and 2-7 in
Yeah.
conference play. Uh, I think this is a very important year there for BYU. The second year in the Big 12. I understand they were transitioning, moving up from the Group of Five and national independence, but you're bringing in the four corner universities out of the Pac-12, including your biggest rival, in-state rival Utah. Like if you're coming up like dead and you're getting smoked in Holy War, and
Hmm.
you're not looking good versus those schools when they're newer entrants to the league as you, that puts a lot of pressure on Kalani Sitake. I believe you said Jerry Bohannon's their quarterback, or
Yeah.
Getzlav or something like that. Retzlav, some other guy. The it's it's um it's a 4-8 football team. I've got them winning at Arizona State and Houston, and then I have the other thing that's important to know is I believe they play. There's two games in this conference schedule. It's K-State, Arizona, and I think it's BYU, Baylor. I think don't count in terms of like conference
Yeah.
plays because it was like that. But yeah, I'm kind of down on the Cougars there. Just Cougars in general. I'm just kind of down. It's not good. It would be a good year for Cougars.
No, dude, the never mind. I'm not gonna go where I was about to go. But no, I think you were reading BYU properly. We saw them have a really hard adjustment to not being an independent last year and having a conference schedule. Now you're adding another conference game, even if it doesn't count for the conference, but you're adding another game in the Big 12 to that schedule. I don't think it's going to work out very favorably for them. Jerry Bohannon or Retzlaff, whichever one wins the starting job, like beating out Jerry Bohannon, that doesn't give me a lot of confidence in you. Getting beat by Jerry Bohannon in a quarterback battle, that doesn't give me much confidence in your team. So like you're not really coming out of this on top if you're BYU.
I'm about as confident in spelling Jerry Bohannon's name as I am in him. Like I don't even know it. I don't even know what letter it starts with.
I've got the Jerry part. He spells Bohannon kind of weird, like not enough N's in my opinion. So I struggle with the last name.
What's your middle name? Moynihan. Like let's just
Oh my God.
anybody else you consider for the Paul Finch in the Big 12 this year?
Yeah, I will say I d dramatically changed my tune on this, and you'll find out what I mean by that in a little bit. But I went with Utah, like just because like I've talked about my doubts with Utah, my doubts with the defense. I think it has slipped in recent years. I think Cam Rising, he is coming off a serious knee injury that kept him out for an entire year. We don't know what that's going to look like. I mean, he's also 26 years old, man. Like that's a wild card in and of itself. We don't have a lot of confidence in a lot of other 26-year-old quarterbacks. Like when we talk about Oklahoma State at some point, I'm sure we're going to be like, Alan Bowman just hand the ball off to Ollie Gordon. Like, we're not expecting a whole lot from him. So like I tried to talk myself into Utah because I do see some cracks in this roster, but ultimately I couldn't quite get there as a Paul Finch. They don't need the satin kimono just yet.
I mean, I'm super high on Utah this
I
year,
know you
so
are. I
that's
know you
fine. But
are.
like, I feel like the Paul Finch like he peaked in high school. He's the 26-year-old getting Cam Rising's. Now that he has his knee that works again, he's doing high knees in the middle of the airplane aisle on the way to rent a car, getting ready for his high school reunion.
Going to pay his car insurance because his parents can't pay for it anymore, or his
No.
health insurance, excuse me.
He just gonna be like living on the street or whatnot. But the other, and as I said, it's not the year of the Cougars. So sorry, all the Cougars out there, no matter how you identify as a Cougar, whether a mascot or another or age. But either way, like the other team I considered was the Houston Cougars. They're going to be awful. I have them going 2-10 with one win in conference play, and that would be at TCU. The other win
Yeah.
is in crosstown rival Rice. It's going to be a really rough year for Willie Fritz. He's going to regret going to Houston more than Ron Washington did going to the LA Angels.
No, I mean, I think Houston, like, I'm higher on Willie Fritz, the higher as a whole than you are. But even I will admit this is going to be a rough year for the Cougs. It's a tough schedule to begin with. Like, it's a pretty tough Big 12 schedule that they have, pretty tough non-conference schedule that they have. And then on top of that, like, let's be real, Dana Holgerson didn't leave him a good situation. Like, I think the upside of Houston is absolutely there, but I do think it's going to take some building on Willie Fritz's part, and that's going to be basically the main ask of the job.
Oh, no question. Imagine like getting an apartment or going to that office from Dana Holgerson. There's just empty Red Bull cans and cigarette butts in the corner, and then there's just folded, crumpled up newspapers in a pissed on cot.
That's right. There's an unemptied chamber pot. It's just disgusting.
There may or may not be a coyote in there.
If you have to send that warning, there's definitely a coyote in there.
You remember that TV show on FX, Baskets, starring Zach Galifianakis?
Yeah, and Elijah Wood, right?
Yeah,
Oh no, that was the other one.
that was
With the
Wilfred.
dog. Yes, yeah.
That one was awesome. Oh, and
Dude, FX was cooking back in the
uh,
day.
Chris Klein was in there. He's like having another Sheboygans.
That's right.
But there was like a stand-up comedian working at like the Costco that Baskets worked at. Dale, yeah, Chip and Dale. That was
Chip and Dale.
but she can't see really well, and she gets a dog and names him Boots and just keeps destroying her house. And then Zach Galifianakis goes, "That's a coyote."
Oh my God.
There's no coyote mascots here in the Big 12, but there may be a few teams that definitely maybe might be good. Who wins the Liam and Noel Gallagher for you this year?
It's the Iowa State Cyclones, man. I think I've kind of mentioned them like a little more frequently over the past couple months, but I'm talking myself into it. Rocco Becht was really impressive as a true freshman last year, and I think he's just going to elevate and get better. This roster, yes, it lost a few pieces, but not anything like super substantial. And I think that the other big thing that really came to fruition as I think about this team, we projected this team to potentially go like 1-11, 2-10 last year, and they were like in the bullfight. Like they were a much better team than anyone ever expected last year after they underwent, I believe it was 11 season-long gambling suspensions. So like they really galvanized the team, or Matt Campbell really galvanized this team together, really had them going. And I know Matt Campbell had his moments last year that weren't the best, including yelling at a fan, getting up in his face and looking like he was about to fight somebody. But like generally in that locker room, that team seems to really buy into whatever Matt Campbell's selling. That team really always never really lacks for investment. And so I think that given the adversity they went through, given the talent they return, and given what I think of Rocco Becht, I think that Iowa State has a chance to compete at the top of the conference.
I really like Iowa State. I really like Rocco Becht. Hey Rocco.
Hey,
Hey Rocco.
Rocco.
Rocco. When I found out that's like just a name, like it's not even short for anything, just Rocco. It was completely blown away. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, what the hell? But I really like Iowa State. I think their schedule is absolutely brutal. And yeah, like a year ago, the guys were like doing hard time in the basement of like a Hard Rock casino for gambling.
Yes, exactly.
But I kind of feel I think we feel the same way. Like you probably feel the same way about you do about Wisconsin in the Big Ten. It's the same thing, but I like Iowa State a little bit more. I had them going
Mhm.
7-5 just because their schedule is really brutal. But yeah,
Yeah.
I seriously consider them maybe as a borderline playoff contender, but schedule's challenging. And
Mhm.
if you finally beat Iowa, then maybe, which I would assume you probably do, but like they kind of get owned by them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I can see why we're bullish on Iowa State because Rocco Becht and Matt Campbell are special.
Yeah, I mean, look, all you need is like 17 points and you got Iowa in the bag. So,
Mhm.
let's just get 17 on the board and call it a day's work.
Yes. Mine is kind of in that same neighborhood. That would be the West Virginia Mountaineers. That's who I ended up going with there. I have them going 8-4. I think the fact that they didn't end Neil Brown, he came back, running
Mhm.
on moonshine and burning couches and everything. I think Garrett Green's really good. Talk about him here in a little bit, but West Virginia is going to upset somebody, and it's going to ruin someone's season of potentially getting to Arlington. I think, like, I have them beating Kansas State. Like, I think that's
Okay.
going to be, and then like they could win or lose with Oklahoma State, Arizona, Texas Tech, and then I think Penn State's just a little bit better than them in the backyard brawl. But it wouldn't shock me if they won. Like West Virginia could be 10-2 or 6-6, but I firmly have them as a bowl team.
No, I absolutely agree. Like, I think Neil Brown earned a lot of our faith last year, and I think that kind of made good on the hire that West Virginia had made. Like it, I mean, it's West Virginia in the Big 12. Like they have a lot of recruiting disadvantages. They have a lot of hardships that they have to weather just to be a successful football program. And I think West Virginia fans kind of got spoiled by that. But Neil Brown seems to be putting that process in the right direction. Garrett Green he's not a high end starting quarterback, but he is a very good starting quarterback. He's an experienced starting quarterback. And you can't underrate that experience when it comes to college football, unless it's, like 8 years of experience in the case of Cam Rising. But I do think that like his experience and then what Neil Brown showed last year, I do think that this is I like Bowl's not even in a question. It's how many games do they win? Is it 8, 9, 10? Like, is it in that range?
I think the only question is, does Garrett Green fly below 6 feet? Like he flies under the bees. Does he
That's
fly under the He's pretty close.
he's very close.
Anybody else you consider for the definitely maybe in the Big 12?
Honestly, I would the point I wanted to make was I feel like most teams in the top half of this conference can apply to definitely maybe. Like it's kind of like we've talked about it. The Big 12 is the most like parity filled league that we have and like at least among the Power Four. And like there's so many questions at the top of this league where honestly not even top, like I would say the top 2/3 of this league where it feels like with if things break right, someone could easily come up and emerge in Arlington. Like there's so many moving parts in this league, so many questions that it's really hard to decipher. So like there's a lot of teams where I could absolutely make the case for definitely maybe might be good.
Yeah, on that note, I said Kansas State, EMA. I feel really good about them. I
Yeah.
got them going 11-1. Their only loss during the regular season is to West Virginia. They get that big win in the non-conference, in the same conference with Arizona. I have them going. I will talk about them here a little bit. I think I'm just
Hmm.
infatuated by Avery Johnson's flowing locks, serenading me to some Billy Squire.
Dude, ready to play for the Orioles any day now. I hope he gets the call up.
The Baltimore Orioles. They're some kind of lovers, right?
That's right.
But I mean, it's getting a little hot in here thinking about Avery Johnson, but it's also getting hot in here for a few Big 12 coaches. Who's on the hottest seat and who all could get fired? Who do you feel is feeling the heat there in brisket barbecue country?
Yeah, also cult country because it's Dave Aranda. Um,
Yeah.
we've talked about this. Like, it just hasn't worked, man. And it really like it's tough for Dave Aranda because I think we both respect him as a defensive mind. I think that he would be like if he were to go back to being a defensive coordinator, he'd immediately be one of the best defensive coordinators in the country again. But it has not worked as a head coach at Baylor. He won one season with Matt Rule's players. Since it's been under his own volition, it has not been pretty. There are reasons to think that it may turn around this year. DeQuan Finn being probably reason 1A of why we think that could be the case. But like, is it enough? Like that's the real question. Is it enough to actually turn this all around? The defense was a Swiss cheese last year, which coming from a Dave Aranda team, that concerns me more than the offense. So what is this team going to do? Are they going to be able to make a bowl game? And if they don't make a bowl game, I truly believe that Dave Aranda is just gone. Like I think a 5-7 season, that's not going to cut it at Baylor.
I'll actually have Dave Aranda listed because I have them going to a bowl game.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah. It was like that's why I did this thing. I kind of went through. I'm like, okay, DeQuan Finn's really good, but like, yeah, that's why I did this. I'm like, I learned a lot. But Baylor's schedule is not horrible. I think I've got Who I've got them? I've got them what 4-5 in conference play. I've got them beating BYU, at Texas Tech, TCU, and Houston. Those are all very winnable.
Hmm.
Tarleton State, Air Force, and then I think there's 6 losses. Utah, they could lose at Colorado, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Kansas. Like they could be like 7-5, 5-7, but I think they may give them like one more year, and then it'll be like really bad. But
Yeah.
I totally understand where you're coming from. It's just really how you view Baylor. But I went with I ended up going with Deion Sanders. Yes,
Ooh, okay.
I've got the Colorado Buffaloes going 5-7. Yes, Midtown is just popping off right now. They're trying to like destroy this building I'm in. Fire truck is going by. That's just oh you're stopping at the stop sign. Are you kidding me?
Fire's not that important.
They were hearing some Deion Sanders slander here. They just had enough of it. Hey, I'm not actually from here. I'm from Denver. I went to Colorado.
That's right.
But yeah, I've got Colorado going 5-7, 2-7. I've got them. They go 3-0 in non-conference with North Dakota State at Nebraska and Colorado State, but they only beat Baylor and Cincinnati.
Hmm.
I mean, to go bowling, you have to win in Lubbock and you have to win Orlando. And you got Kansas State, Arizona State, Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. I would say those are the 5 best teams in the Big 12.
Yeah, that's tough. That's not what you want.
But I also feel that like just all the talking of all offseason, like people are just tired of him. So it may not go well for him. Who else do you think could be on the hot seat there in the Big 12?
I don't know about could, but should Scott Satterfield. If this
Yeah.
Cincinnati team performs like they did last year, where you've got Oklahoma players eating Skyline chili, like if we go that route again, like Scott Satterfield's got to go. Like we're both dubious of his abilities as a head coach anyway, and the fact that he's taking over a program that was humming the way Luke Fickell had Cincinnati, and granted that was not in a power conference, but they were still humming. They still made the college football playoffs. So I think once you do that, power conference is irrelevant because you had your team on a national level competing. And so like I think that if Cincinnati continues that, if they're a 3-8 or 3-9, 4-8 team again, like I don't see how you can viably stick by Scott Satterfield. I don't like what metal on his armor would he have to like move forward with? Like there's not really any.
No, I had him listed second. I've got Cincinnati going a very Tommy Tuberville, go home and get a job, 4-8.
Yeah, exactly.
It goes back to the fact that he was a child actor. That's pretty much the answer there. So he also would definitely have a role in Arrested Development. He lost out to Will Arnett to play Joe Bluth, but he's definitely somebody in that show.
That's he's a Culkin brother. We just didn't know it. That's Scott Culkin.
How do you we got to make it weirder like Kieran or like Macaulay. So like Scotchley.
Scotchley. Yes, there we go.
uh I also had 3 more.
Okay.
Sonny Dykes, Kalani
Hmm.
Sitake, and Joey McGuire.
Okay.
If Sonny Dykes like doesn't go to a bowl game in back-to-back years after having like had great success there with Gary Patterson, it's like, did you win with his players?
Yeah. I
And
mean, that's a really good point. And like we've seen Sonny Dykes teams, not necessarily at TCU, more so when he was at SMU, but like kind of fade in the second half. And if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the second half of TCU's schedule is the hardest half of their schedule. And so if they do fade in the second half, they do have a relatively inexperienced quarterback situation. Like he played some last year, but they're going into a new season. So I do wonder what this team is going to look like, how they're going to finish, especially in the new Big 12 where the league is strengthened top to bottom. So I do think that Sonny Dykes is probably like the dark horse candidate for the hot seat, but like I do think he's absolutely on there for sure.
you still got to play Arizona, Oklahoma State, Utah, and Kansas. Oh, and then you got to play SMU in the non-conference.
Yeah, exactly.
So that could be challenging. I've mentioned about Kalani Sitake, and then even though I've got Texas Tech going 7-5, it's kind of like at some point, like you're just wasting everybody's time. So
Yeah.
anybody else you thought of, or we can just move on.
I just wanted to mention Kenny Dillingham that I think we both agree that he's not on the hot seat. Like he's just been dealt a hand that I think the administration knows what kind of hand he's been dealt, and it's through no fault of his own. Like I think he knew what he was stepping into, and I would hope that it came with some job security that like, hey, we're gonna weather through this and then see what you do on the other side of it.
Yeah, I know. I could hear him trying to back up a rooms to go truck out there for like the first uh 25 minutes of this show.
Oh my God.
You know, in this relationship, me and the Arizona State podcast, we don't drive in the snow and he doesn't do hills.
He definitely does not do hills.
But I wonder if he'll ever send somebody that could be coming to us live from Eric Crouch's couch. Yes, let's move on to our five Heisman contenders and a sleeper pick. Who's your number one pick to come out of the Big 12 to possibly get to New York? Not saying they will, but like could.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume we have the same number one, Ollie Gordon the second, running back from Oklahoma State. But I mean, there was a case that he could have gone last year. He's going to be the focal point of this offense. I mentioned Alan Bowman. Like, we don't expect Alan Bowman to throw the ball a lot. Like, this isn't like, your Mason Rudolph Oklahoma State team. We have a star running back. We're going to feed him the rock pretty religiously. So, like, that's what this offense is going to home through. I think we're both pretty high on Oklahoma State this year. Like we didn't even include them in definitely maybe because I think we just think they're good. So like I don't think it's like there's no definitely maybe about it. Like they're just a good team and it's because of Ollie Gordon. So if Oklahoma State is going to have the season that that we think they could have, if they're going to get to Arlington, then I think Ollie Gordon is going to be the reason why, and we're going to see the stats to back that up that get him to New York.
I did have Ollie Gordon, have him third, but I did have
Okay.
him in there. So they're feeding him the rock. That's Turtle. It's
Mhm.
Gator.
It's Gator. That they practice with Gator, ball security. Make sure you protect Gator.
And Gator just biting you. He's the cutest snapping turtle I've ever seen, or he's also a tortoise. They're all named Gator, like my great granddad's dogs with Smokey and Poochie.
That's right. Oh my
Uh,
God.
actually, that's my grandfather's dogs, but yeah, they were all the same there. Yeah, apparently my great grandfather like didn't believe in like indoor plumbing. I mean, he died like the 1930s, so like okay.
That's just that's a weird hill to die on, not believing in indoor plumbing.
But he would also like stare at a light bulb at night, like he was just fascinated by that. As
Hey, I get it. I get it.
the depression era of Washington, Irving, New York could be a little depressing. I'll tell you that much. But but yeah, I like Ollie Gordon and maybe Gundy's like if you rush for 2,000 yards, we'll give you some of those Taco Bell nachos you've been wanting for your birthday.
That's right.
My number one pick, shockingly, it's Black Smoke Cam Rising.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
I just kind of feel like long hair, just throwing the ball around a bunch, playing really well. That's kind of like the Stetson Bennett pick of like a couple of years ago. So like he'll get to Heisman like Minshew. Like I feel like if he plays well, the name recognition, and if Utah is as good as I think they're going to be, like yeah, I think he can get to New York. Who do you have for two, or if you have any response to that?
So I'll go ahead and spoil this for you. I don't have Cam Rising in my top five. That probably
Yeah,
shouldn't shock you given how low I am on Utah, but I don't have Cam Rising in my top five. I see your case, and I don't think it's a wrong case. I think it legitimately comes down to what you think about Utah. And so, like, I'm obviously lower on Utah. I'm going to assume that in the next segment that we have that you probably will mention Utah and I will not. So I think that has a lot to
yeah,
do with why I don't have Cam Rising in my top five. But number two, I've got Jalen Daniels, quarterback for Kansas. And this is one of the, I'm consistent if nothing else. This is about opportunity. And if Kansas is going to compete for the Big 12 title, if Kansas is going to compete, obviously, if you're competing for the Big 12 title, you're competing for a college football playoff spot. It's going to be Jalen Daniels staying healthy. He's had back issues the past few years, but Jason Bean is gone. The backup situation is not what it was. So I think we're going to see Jalen Daniels potentially play through some stuff if something does happen or stay healthy. Either way, it's going to come down on him. We know he's an electric player. He's so freaking good. He's one of the most fun players in the country. So, like, I think the opportunity is there for Jalen Daniels to not have like this security essentially of okay, you're a little banged up. Let's start Jason Bean in this game because we're confident in that. They're not confident in what they have in the backup situation now. Lance Leipold is not going to do that, especially in a new offense where with Anthony Kolktonicki gone to Penn State. Jesus Christ, with him at Penn State. So I do think that like I think the opportunity is there for Jalen Daniels to really elevate himself and to stay healthy this year because he does seem like he's the healthiest he's been in a long time.
I don't trust him to stay healthy at all. I feel like he's
I
he's
get
he's
it.
Eugene. He's a hell of a player, and I would not be shocked if he got there. He's so much fun, but I do have a Kansas player making it there instead, and we'll get to him in a
Okay.
little bit. But yeah, I want to have Jalen Daniels on here just to really confuse Lou Holtz.
Oh my God.
How do you feel about eligibility? I don't even know.
Jalen Daniels.
Yo, James. My number two is the teeny bopper himself, Avery Johnson, for
Okay.
obvious reasons. I think he's insanely talented, and I think yeah, Kansas State EMA storm coming, and yes, whatever good things that happen with Kansas State to make more money from Zach Best, I'm all for it.
No, yeah, I have Avery Johnson number three, and it was really a toss up between him and Jalen Daniels. I switched the two multiple times, so like I think they're on the same stratosphere. And but like my thing with Avery Johnson, the reason I ended up with him at three is I legitimately have the same injury concerns with Jalen Daniels that I do with Avery Johnson, just without the track record. But I mean, he is a young mobile quarterback. He is not the biggest guy in the world, but he is mobile, and we know he's going to run. It's a Kansas State offense. That's what the quarterbacks do in a Kansas State offense. So like, can he hold up for a full season? We don't know. We've only seen him play really one game. So like, what is a full season going to look like? Can he stay healthy through that? So I do have those same concerns. If he stays healthy, like if I had a guarantee Avery Johnson is going to be healthy through this entire season, I would probably have him at number one. But because I am concerned about that, because I am at least a little questionable about if we're going to get a full season out of him, I knocked him down a little bit because of that.
I think
Let me be clear, that does not diminish my Kansas State love. I still think Kansas State is going to be good.
yeah, that's fair. And then obviously I have Ollie Gordon
Mhm.
third. Do you want to go with your fourth or me go four?
You go ahead and go for it since we've already talked about your
That's
three.
cool. Number four, I've got the short king Noah Fifita. I feel
Okay.
like Arizona's going to be really good, but I've only got them going 9-3, and I feel
Mhm.
like even with which would lead me to believe like he'll come back for another year after this.
Yeah.
So like he'll be in the situation with like Dylan Gabriel, where like he'd be a serious like real contender there at 25.
Mhm.
Uh, I thought I considered a Tetero McMillan as well, but again, it's hard for me to get people there. Like, are we really going to have another like back to back 9-3 Heisman winners? Like,
Mhm.
but very high on Noah Fifita. I think he's got tremendous upside. Even I think his game even translates to the NFL in a lot of ways, just because he's so accurate. And I don't ever compare anybody to Drew Brees because one, he sucks, and two, he takes money, and three, he's a clown, and four, F the Saints. But I think Drew Brees is such an outlier. That's why,
Mhm.
like, I kind of like, okay, maybe you could be Baker Mayfield. Maybe you can be like your favorite guy, Brock Purdy.
Jesus, yeah. My guy.
Who'd you have it for, bud?
Four, I have Travis Hunter. And let me spoil this. It's the only Colorado player I have on here. But again, this is about opportunity. And I think that if Colorado becomes like better than the 5-7 that you have them projected for, like if Colorado is like a solid bowl team, they're flirting 7, 8, 9 wins. I do think that Travis Hunter, I think the narrative is going to shift to where he gets more credit than Shador Sanders. I know Shador Sanders is going to stat pad, but we're talking about a dude who plays both sides of the ball, plays them at probably a top 10, like at his position, at both positions, which is just absurd. And I think that as we start to have one thing I'm projecting for the season is that just generally as a media source, we have a more like level-headed approach to how we view Colorado, a level-headed approach to how we like cover Colorado. I think that's going to happen this year. I think like last year it was such a shock to the system that we were all kind of adjusting to figuring out how that was going to happen. Now I think it's going to be okay, we're gonna have a level-headed approach. And yes, Shador is good. No one's arguing that. But like what Travis Hunter is doing when we talk about the spirit of the Heisman is in the spirit of the Heisman. If we're talking about the best player in college football, it's the dude who's playing two positions at the same at an extremely high level.
as much as I want to get him there, I think Colorado is going to suck, and it's the same
Yeah.
thing. Like Brock Bowers should have gotten to New York, and he never did. So like
Yeah.
it's the same kind of thing. I'm also afraid that there's going to be some Sanders brothers daddy ball nonsense going on there on the Big 12, and it's just going to be like who do I have them losing to? Like there's like one game, like what's like the sad bag of crap game with Colorado? It's probably going to be like oh like they'll probably lose like 51-17 to Kansas or something ridiculous.
Well, I mean, you said you had North Dakota State down as a win. That's not a guarantee.
No, 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 no. Neither is at Nebraska. Although I'm just picking that out of hilarity, to be
Oh
honest.
my God. Unbelievable stuff.
Okay, so and then number five, I've got Devin Neal, the running back for Kansas. That's
Okay.
my pick there too. I feel that like as much as Jalen Daniels has the potential to really be the straw that stirs the drink, I think he's going to be out there. I think he's going to challenge Ollie Gordon for like the best running back, not only in the conference, but in the country. So I'm pretty high on them. Plus, I kind of wonder though, with Andy Koltenek, kind of going to Penn State, how the offense is going to change. I feel that like Lance Leipold knows this team's probably going to win about 8, 9, 10 games.
Hmm.
They may go a little more run heavy. So
Okay.
that's my expectation there. But yeah, really high on Kansas there this year. But I don't quite know if they got a Heisman contender, but they may have two. And I have no idea where Jason Bean is, but I hope you're out there living your best life, bud.
He's on some NFL preseason team. I want to say maybe the Cardinals, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken,
okay,
which
cool.
that makes a
That'd be
lot of
cool.
sense, actually. Him backing up Kyler Murray, don't hate that. That's not the worst thing I've ever heard of.
I mean, it's better than Desmond Ritter.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And you know that firsthand as a Falcons fan. But number five, I'll go quick with this. Noah Fifita. I have him as well as my top five. One thing I did want to add though, you talk about, are you wonder if we're going to have back-to-back 9-3 Heisman winners? I will say, when you look at 9-3 Heisman winners historically, you look at Jaden Daniels, you look at Lamar Jackson, they have been teams where the quarterback play is tremendous and like making this happen, but the defense is letting them down. The defense is honestly the reason that they're going 9-3. That's what's like when you look at this Arizona roster, that's the path to 9-3 for them. This defense is what got ravaged in the transfer portal. They brought back Fafita, they brought back offensive linemen, they brought back McMillan. So like I do think that their offense is going to survive. So Fafita is going to have the chance to put up numbers. They just might go 9-3 because they can't stop anyone. So like the same path that we saw for Jaden Daniels is somewhat there for Noah Fafita.
I think that's fair. I just think the Heisman's such a narrative award,
Oh yeah.
but like it's also about stats. So like
Mhm.
again, I keep getting the Heisman wrong every year, but my sleeper is Garrett Green. I think that West Virginia is going to
Okay.
be really good. We touched on what he could potentially do there at WVU. Don't really need to go too much in detail, other than like I think that Double G could be sensational, absolutely tremendous for the ears.
I like the Garrett Green pick. I'm going with another quarterback, Rocco Becht. And kind of
Rocco,
yeah, it kind of ties back into what I was, saying about Iowa State. I think Iowa State has a legitimate shot to compete for the Big 12 title this year. And I think that Rocco Becht is going to get a lot of credit for that. I also think that Rocco Becht is going to be a reason for that. More specifically, like he's going to be a deserving potential winner of this because we saw him, especially in the second half of last season, really put up some nice numbers, like really show that he is developing into something. And that was as a freshman. So like as he has a full year of experience under his belt, as this it's a more normal year for Iowa State and Matt Campbell. Like I think Rocco Becht is going to put up some impressive numbers, and with the success that Iowa State's going to have, there is a path where that happens.
that wouldn't shock me either. I think just to kind of we'll say who we have to wrap this segment up and then
Yeah.
tie a bow on it. But I think the fact that we have such wide variance here just signifies how many great players they have in the
Hmm.
Big 12. Like we probably listed about 8 or 9 people. We didn't mention Shedeur Sanders, but he could if Colorado has a great year as well. But I think that's part of the league. It's like it could go in a whole lot of other directions. Like I don't
Hey.
think that Oklahoma State's going to finish last. I don't even think Houston's going to win the league, but I think anything else could happen conceivably.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I would add BYU. I don't think BYU is winning the league. That's hard for me to get there. But like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of calamity that could absolutely happen in this. I'll go ahead and get my 1 through 5. I have Ollie Gordon 1, Jalen Daniels 2, Avery Johnson 3, Travis Hunter at 4, Noah Fafita at 5, and then Rocco Becht
Rocco.
as my sleeper.
I can't ever say his name normally again, but yeah. One for me, I got Cam Rising, two Avery Johnson, three Ollie Gordon, four Noah Fafita, five Devin Neal, and then Garrett Green is my sleeper. I don't know what my fingers were doing the entire time, but they were doing something.
All right, number one, I've got
Fingers, they don't know what they're doing sometimes. That sounds very AJ Hawk. And we are going to move on to like our final of four segments with recurring ones with the playoffs. You kidding me? Our picks to make it to the Big 12 title bout, the AQ pick plus who else can make it to the playoff this year? Who do you have going to Arlington? Cody Williams.
So I've got Kansas State over Oklahoma State. That's
Okay.
my pick for the Big 12 title game. Like I said, I think like when I am down on Utah, to be clear, when I am down on Utah, that is Utah being 8-4, 9-3. I'm not saying that Utah's going to miss a bowl game. I'm not saying Utah's going to be bad. I am just saying that I can see a world where Utah is not the favorite, which they are currently listed at according to the odds boards. So like I think that we're going to see in a league where we've already touched on, that is going to be so calamitous, that is going to have so much potential chaos, so much potential like movers and shakers throughout the entire season. That doesn't necessarily, to me, lend itself to a team like Utah, whose identity, in my opinion, under Kyle Whittingham has been just so steady. Like, I don't know if they're made necessarily for year one in a league that has so much volatility to just immediately shoot to the top of that. Like, I think that you need a little bit of volatility, which I'm not sure Utah necessarily has. Kansas State and Oklahoma State, I think we know what those teams are. Like, Kansas State, yes, I do think they're going to be a little volatile because they have Avery Johnson. I happen to believe in Avery Johnson quite a bit. I happen to believe in their backfield. I definitely believe in Chris Kleiman to have this team at a level where they can get to the college football playoff by being Big 12 champions. Oklahoma State, kind of the same thing. Like we know Mike Gundy, there's always going to be a little volatility. But I'm never worried about Mike Gundy in the Big 12 play. I'm worried about Mike Gundy out of conference. Like, is there a chance they lose to Arkansas in the non-conference? Actually, yeah, because Mike Gundy is notorious for that. Like that's the type of dumb thing that we could see that can make them be like, okay, the number 4 seed in the college football playoff is 9-3. What the hell? But they also went like 7-1 or 7-2 in the conference. So like I do think that Oklahoma State knows who they are. They have a clear identity, a lot of experience. So like I just see them getting there a little, like just barely edging out Iowa to get to Arlington. Or
I think
not Iowa,
that's
Utah, excuse me.
Utah, Iowa, Utah. Iowa, Utah should play every year for the gravel pit.
That's right.
uh, or it's a gravel pit, but it's the same exact thing as the music video for Bullet with Butterfly Wings, but that's not a gravel pit.
Oh
And we'll just leave it at
oh my
that.
God.
Uh, as expected, I have Utah over Kansas State. I did consider Oklahoma State getting to Arlington. Those are really the only three I could kind of get behind. And it came down to this for me. I think Oklahoma State, I have them going 10-2 with losses to Utah and Kansas State. So they play both of them. So if they get one of them, they'll probably get there. But then you also have the Gators hunting rabbits game. I mean, could that be Arkansas? Could that be at BYU? It might be West Virginia. I mean, Texas Tech. I mean, that's certainly within the realm of possibility. As much as I
Mhm.
like Gundy and Ollie Gordon, Alan Bowman wishes he could be Danny Cannell. He's just a guy.
He's a jag for sure.
And even though I think it's a push pretty much between Kyle Whittingham and Chris Kleiman, I just think the experience that Cam Rising's had and the urgency he might have, uh, just being a little more seasoned, a little more older, like he can get into a bar and Avery Johnson can't. I think that's why I've got Utah going 12-0, actually 13-0, and they're going to be the top 4 seed.
Hey, look, I'll go ahead and spin us off into other playoff contenders. I have Utah listed as another playoff
Mhm.
contender. And when you're to me, and you can push back on this, but playoff contenders in this league to me are teams that can win the Big 12. I don't think any team out of the Big 12 is getting an at-large bid. I'm kind of coming down on that side. Like I think this league, because of the volatility, is just going to beat each other up, and it's not a league that can survive that the way the SEC or the Big Ten can. Like those teams, if you go 9-3, 10-2, that's a lot different than a Big 12 team going 9-3, 10-2. That's going to look a lot different. Like if Oklahoma State's 9-3 and one of their losses is to Arkansas, like that's not going to be a good thing for the committee to look at, and they're not going to
No,
get an
sir.
at-large bid because of
No,
that.
sir.
So yeah, exactly. So like when I'm talking about like potential playoff contenders, like it is teams that could theoretically and conceivably in our minds win the Big 12. So Utah definitely falls in that conversation for me. So like you're not wrong. Like we've talked about it. I'm just a little bit lower on them, but like I believe it's my my personal hero Bud Elliott said the other day you're not going to be profitable betting against Kyle Whittingham very often. And that's very true. I have nothing but respect for Kyle Whittingham, but I do think that the ceiling might be limited for this team, and that's kind of where I come down.
I can respect that. I don't agree with it, but I can respect that. But I
That's right.
to kind of tie a bow on this, I've got five teams that I think could win the conference, and that would be Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Kansas, and Arizona. That's the
Mm.
five I've got. I really wanted to put West Virginia there, and Iowa State. I just couldn't do it.
So I have six, and Iowa State is the six. But that, I've kind of already made my case there. Like I just think Iowa State showed me a lot last year about the program culture, and like with another experience with a young quarterback, another year of experience for the young quarterback, and a roster that isn't going to wow anyone, but is solid basically throughout. There's not really a weak spot. Like I do think it could behoove them.
You know what I think is interesting? I think we have the same number of teams we think in making the playoffs. I have one fewer in the Big 12, and I had one more in the Big 10 with Michigan. I would venture to guess on Thursday's show we're going to have the same teams in the ACC, and then another team that should be in the ACC. And
Yeah.
so that's and then we both have the same seven there in the SEC. So crazy.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're gonna look like idiots. Like there's going to be a team that we're just discounting completely that just comes up and like has a TCU type season, has a we thought Washington was going to be good, but not as good as they were, like a Washington type season. There's going to be a team that shocks us that's like outside of the ones that we mentioned. And like we're trying to cover our bases, but that's the beauty of college football is that there's always something lurking that you can't see coming.
It's weird. That team that's just light in the weeds for whatever reason, I feel like it could be either Baylor or UCF. I feel like that's the
Yeah,
one that could conceivably do it. Texas Tech, Joe McGuire's out there wearing red and walking straight line, like wearing a red shirt like me, like it's fighting for the crown in America, and that's not going so hot for them.
that's right.
Any other thoughts before we move on to topic five?
No, let's I think we're both excited for the Big 12. Like I think with realignment, like we are generally more excited to watch what happens in the Big Ten and the SEC for sure, just because those conferences are so loaded. We like watching good football teams play. Shocker, I know. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion. I also like watching, less good football teams play one another. And I think that's what we have in the Big 12. Like I don't think like when we talk about the playoff contenders from the SEC and the Big Ten, they are in a different stratosphere as the ones I'm talking about in the Big 12, at least in my eyes. I think you think Utah is probably closer to that. I think that the top of the Big 12 is just kind of here, and then the Big 10 and SEC are up here. So like I do think there are levels to this, and I do think there, but like that to me, the volatility of this league, the parity in this league, it makes it one of the most like top to bottom, start to finish in league play, entertaining leagues that in college football. And I'm really excited to see what they have to offer this year.
Oh, no question. I feel like this is a league operating from a level of strength. We thought it died and it didn't. It survived. Like Gloria Gaynor and Cake, it absolutely did.
That's right.
And I don't know if Ramstein was ever influenced by Cake's fashion nugget, but Du Hast or Du Hast. See if I can pull this up so I can read a question. Is the Big 12 the more likely conference to get multiple teams into the expanded playoff field over the ACC?
It's a tough one, man, because frankly, I think both are getting one in. Like that's
Okay.
what I feel deep in my soul. However, I'm gonna do Haas it with one S. I'm gonna go do Haas. And I think that when I look at the ACC, it's becoming increasingly normal for me. And maybe it's just, one of those things where I know the league so well. Like I'm an ACC guy as a North Carolina fan that like I'm able to pick apart these teams a little bit better. But I just see flaws across the board with every team in the ACC. In the Big 12, I just know what the Big 12 is like, and I know that that breeds volatility. But when I look at the rosters of a Kansas State, when I look at the roster of a Utah, when I look at the roster of Oklahoma State, I see less flaws than I do in some of the ACC contenders. So, like, I think at the top of the conference, I actually like the Big 12 a little bit better than I do the ACC. And for that reason, if I like the top, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about college football playoff contenders. I think they're the more likely of the two to get a second team in there.
Yes, we are so close to figuring this out. We're trying to make the pieces fit. Uh, so I was watching was talking about the guy who pretends to be a Lars Ulrich on YouTube playing the drums.
Yeah.
And he was trying to play a Schism by Tool. Not Tool's not your favorite band, but whatever. We learned this in music theory, and it's a whole bunch of key time signatures. And obviously the refrain is I know the pieces fit. Whereas like our Lars Ulrich is like, I will make the pieces fit. This is going to be 4-4 time.
I will make the pieces fit.
Yeah. I'm going to go do Haas with 1S as well because right now, and I still got to go through all my win totals for the ACC, but right now I have two teams in the Big 12 getting in. I have Utah and Kansas State both getting in.
Okay.
I feel like it wouldn't have happened last year, I don't think. But again, if we would have had the expanded playoff in 2020, 21, and 22, 2020, we would have gotten Oklahoma and Iowa State. 21, we would have gotten Baylor and Oklahoma State, and then 22, TCU and K State. Obviously, last year we just had Texas. I don't think Oklahoma State was quite there yet, but
Yeah.
I think you're right though. Like there's just a bunch of teams that are just really, really strong at the top end, whereas like the ACC, someone's going to beat everybody up there in that league. And again, I have no clue who I'm picking to win that league right now. That's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch. But like that's how I figured I was going to put Dave Aranda #1 on like hot seat. Like, oh, they're going 6-6.
Yeah.
I guess not. But yeah, I would go 1S because like I think the Big Ten's only going to get three in.
hmm
And then
Yeah, I think we both agree with that right now because I think a lot of it comes down to I mean, I think I have USC over Michigan, and I think a lot of people probably have Michigan like as a playoff team right now. We're not there. We're definitely
no,
not there. And like I'm a little bit higher on USC, so like I can talk myself into a fourth, but it's not something I'm like fully confident in. Like being fully confident in USC without having seen but one game of Miller Moss, like that would be ludicrous for me. And maybe I'll get ludicrous when we do the full college football playoff predictions, but as of right now, I'm not like locking USC in as a playoff team.
not this next just like Novocaine, but like one or two, we got to do Ludacris.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll probably do another just like Novocaine with Phil Collins.
Oh, dude, Phil Collins is a must. That's like that's the gold standard.
Yeah, that's gonna be perfect. And we'll do one for my birthday. I haven't figured out what band we want to do for that yet. It won't be those ones, but we'll do another one then. So I'll probably do three before September 11th. Yeah, when I turn 35. Great. I can run for president now.
Please do. Jesus.
I have no skeletons in my closet except for that one over there that's still moving. His name's Antonio. I don't have a skeleton in my closet. I have a blow up doll.
I have a blow up doll. It's Antonio. Yeah, you're gonna want to lock that up if you are running for office because Antonio will get you in some trouble, brother.
It's basically Black Sheep, and I'm Tim Matheson. He's Chris Farley.
Exactly. Oh God. Talk about an underrated movie, by the way. Black Sheep slaps.
It's so good. Sergeant Drake Savage. What a legend.
Yeah, so good.
Now the Mount Rushmore of Gary Busey roles. Number 1, Buddy Holly. Number 2, Sergeant Drake Savage. Number 3, probably the guy from Rookie of the Year.
Chet Stedman, first of all, how
Chet.
dare you disrespect him like that?
I knew it was Chet. I think it was like Chet the Rocket Stedman or something.
Yeah. Oh
uh,
my God.
Okay, there's no other better way than to transition to this next topic than graphic design is my passion. I hope this works because if this works, this will be great. If not, we'll stop and we'll do some untold tales from Homer Hickam. But we have arrived at the Sweet 16. It is very shibby. I saw the guy with the continuum transfunctioner, and the gatekeeper let me out, which he literally was the guy.
It was the guy, man.
We look so stupid compared to Jesse and Chester.
It's not, it's all good.
All right, I'm gonna find this thing with you so we make sure we got the outline here. And for the record, you've got them and you've got the ability to put them up on the screen, right?
Yeah, yeah. This will look better than it probably sounds in post production. A little behind the scenes there.
That's perfect. Okay, so the Sweet 16 is basically the four best ones from each of the four times we've done graphic designs by passion. I've seeded them based on his favorites. So the favorite one from each episode is a one seed, two, three, four. One from each regional will play four, two, three, and then we'll keep going on to the I don't even know if it's the lead eight, but what we would call that instead the eight, the
The
Ocho.
eight, the Ocho. There we go. The Ocho.
I hope that was a transformer. I'm like,
You're still here. You're still with us, I think.
I think so too. So we've got the Buhler Regional, the Cody Regional, the Arizona State Podcast Regional, and the NC State Podcast Regional. The Buhler champion will play the Arizona State Podcast champion. Cody will play the NC State Podcast, and then we'll get to our champions. So let's
Mhm.
start with the let's just kind of work our way down. Let's start with the Buhler Regional. Number one
Yeah. So,
seed. Yes, go right ahead.
go ahead. No, no, you go ahead.
Number one seed, we've got the Gus Malzahn Dance Studios versus Remington Gator Gundy.
They both still crack me up to no, no end. So Remington Gator Gundy, we love him. We reference Gator quite a lot, but the Gus Malzahn Dance Studios, the tagline really sets it off. Let's break it down, boys. Is just an unbelievable thing. So the number one seed, we avoid the upset here. Gus Malzahn Dance Studios is advancing.
This is a serious contender to win it all. I feel like that elicited a certain
Mhm.
reaction out of you. And then the two versus three, we've got Jeff Traylor versus Harrison Butker.
Jeff Traylor, he's a prodigy.
It's a
First off, agree 100%. That's my guy. And then Harrison Butker, what a clown with the stove. We are going to go with the upset, or no, sorry, we're not going with the upset. I misread the seeds here. Jeff Traylor, it's the Roadrunner logo. Like this legitimately looks like a roadside diner logo. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is where your passion for graphic design really comes through is with this logo. So Jeff Traylor is going through.
I know, meet me out there on the street.
That's right.
uh the screenshot I sent of that may have still had the cursor around it, but and that's part of it too. Like it's supposed to be there. So they're both going, okay, and who is coming out of the Buhler Regional between the number one seeded Gus Malzahn Dance Studios and Jeff Traylor?
Man, this we're splitting hairs here. I think I've got to go with the upset, man. The more I look at it, the Jeff Traylor logo is some of your best work. Like he's a prodigy with the Roadrunner. Like it is meeping really hard, and it is running past the dance studio. Didn't break it down hard enough, boys. I'm sorry.
Gus Malzahn, he is Wiley Coyote.
That's right. Yeah, he's got all the Acme products with them.
Acne or Acme, either way, he's not doing good.
That's right.
Moving on to the Cody Regional. Number one seed, we've got Josh Heupel going up against number four seed Dog Park Trivia.
The Great Pyrenees will hunt you for sport, but so will Josh Heupel in his Letterman's jacket. We're going Josh Heupel through to the next round.
That was so easy. And then this next one is going to be really, really difficult. Number two seed,
Mhm.
my boy Rolla versus Spring Break with Antonio Banderas.
Shots to the champ always, first of all. We love my boy Rolla. But in the spirit of false start, Antonio's got to pull off the upset here and go to the second round because look, spring break with Antonio, what a time to be alive that was.
It absolutely was. I was looking back, I was listening to like a previous episode of how we got to like Rolla, and it was basically Tyler Buckner quitting to play lacrosse is basically how that started. And then it went down to me and the Arizona State podcast coming back from San Francisco with Jennifer Reynolds in her backpack.
Her backpack, man. Look, if I could say that anything is indicative of what false start is, what it has become, it's the fact that a Tyler Buckner playing lacrosse conversation ended up with me talking about kids fighting with rolling backpacks in middle school.
We wouldn't have it any other way. So for the Cody Ocho, Josh Heupel versus Spring Break with Antonio Banderas, who is going to the
All
Final
right.
Four?
I gave Antonio the courtesy of going to the second round because he is our boy, but nothing's topping Josh Heupel, not without my Letterman's jacket. He's going to the Final Four with his Letterman's jacket.
Yeah, this is like a Doug Eater with the peacocks. It's just they
That's
got to delete it, and
right.
that's it.
He's a peacock. You gotta let him fly, baby. Let's go.
What a guy. All right, down to the Arizona State podcast regional bracket. We've got number one seed Dabo Swinney Jock Jams versus the Mike Gundy Gun Club.
This is a tough 1-4 matchup. Uh Gator said I Gator, I said go get the rabbit. First off, a beautiful tagline, but also the Dabo Mother Mary and I like to move it. This is a tough one. I gotta go Jock Jams. I gotta go Jock Jams. I just think that we love Dabo, we love his Jock Jams, and this is beautifully executed.
It really took it up a notch. And the 2 versus 3 here at the Arizona State Regional could change the game. That would be David Busters versus Dave Clawson.
Dave and Buster's, our favorite gambling Joel Klatt, where you at space, and then Dave Clawson, get those damn dirty hippies away from my office. Shouts to the Baptist community of Winston-Salem, but we got to go Dave and Buster's. There's no better place to bet on senseless games.
No, I knew what Dave was advancing, but I wasn't sure if a Buster was.
That's right.
And for the Ocho, the Arizona State Podcast Regional, we got Dabo Swinney Jock Jams versus David Busters. Who's going to the Final Four? The faux.
Uh, honestly, like, no offense to you, but I think the 2-3 matchup was really overmatched. Dabo Sweeney, Jack Jams,
Oh
easy
man.
inclusion in the Final Four.
Oh man. I
Oh
put the
man.
David Busters is like one of my all-time favorites ones on
Oh,
there, but
I love it, but it's Dabo Jock Jams, man. Like, what are we gonna do?
and then finally the NC State Podcast Regional. Uh the number one seed in the entire thing.
Yes.
The James Franklin Driving School versus San Francisco Sea Alliance.
Yeah, the James Franklin driving school is just absolutely moving. But again, everyone on YouTube will be able to see this. Just check out the beautiful San Francisco Sea Lions logo. The art for it is some of my favorite, but it like the James Franklin driving school is truly one of our greatest bits. Like it's unbelievably good, and you nailed the logo for it. Like the execution was flawless.
That's perfect. And then uh the 2 and 3, which is Athens Best Western versus Tafford and Feinbaum. Someone's got to win this game because they're getting slaughtered the next round.
I'm going with Taffert and Pine Bomb, dude. It absolutely kills me. These 60-year-olds are bald and out of control. And yeah, absolutely. Although, shouts to the Athens Best Western because they want nothing to do with you.
They've had enough of you. And James Franklin Driving School versus Taffer and Feinbaum. You already know.
This is the Georgia TCU of this playoff. Like we're absolutely slaughtering them and leaving their carcass on the field. It's James
Okay.
Franklin Driving School.
All right, the faux. So the Buhler champion is Jeff Traylor, number 2 seed, and he's going to be going
Mhm.
up against the number 1 seed from the Arizona State Podcast Regional, which is Dabo Swinney Jock Jams. So Jeff Traylor versus Arizona versus Dabo Swinney Jock Jams. Who's advancing?
This is the nitty gritty here. We're into it now. I gotta go Jeff Traylor, man. I don't know why, but the Jeff Traylor logo is really speaking to me today. It is absolutely like just hitting where every funny bone that I need in my life.
I know, man, and this is the we have arrived. We've arrived at the best game of this entire tournament.
Mm-hmm.
We got to say it like a Northeasterner tournament, like we're Jay Wright. Even the
Tournament.
Tournament.
Going there with my aunt. Like, God.
Uh, Tournament. You guys tournament. Well, we're gonna eat, baby. That reminds me of the Arizona State podcast, and I were like, we were trying to say the word Nick, like someone's name, but we were saying it really southern, so it sounds like Nick. Nick.
Yeah. Nick.
Nick. Nick. My name's Nick. Nick.
It's short for Nicholas.
uh the I can't believe that someone has to lose this one between Josh Heupel and the James Franklin driving school. Who's getting to the finals and who's going home crying like a baby?
God, well, the more likely of the two to cry like a baby. That's Josh Heupel going home crying like a baby because it's the James Franklin driving school. James Franklin knows what it's like to lose a big game, and he's fine with it because he's just driving on.
Drive on, brother.
Drive on.
Honestly, I love this like gaslighting Tennessee to think that they're going to be good and they still lose.
That's the honestly best outcome for the podcast.
Yes, and I think this may actually be a rematch of the first champion between Jeff Traylor and James Franklin driving school.
Oh God, as much as I have pushed Jeff Traylor through, nothing's touching the driving school, man. It is just like I think what really sets it off for me, and like I just looked at it again and it just made me laugh. But like it looks like a driving school logo. This looks like something you would see.
Oh, no question. The tagline: "Keep your hands at 10-2, so you can go 10-2."
It's so beautiful. Like it's absolutely perfect.
You know, we are of a certain generation where we were inspired by Abercrombie and Fitch and American Eagle graphic tees. So this is kind
Oh
of what
my
this is.
God. Yeah, it unfortunately like still informs my wardrobe pretty heavily.
I mean, I'm wearing a Mount Gay rum shirt in Midtown, Georgia, so people are going to look at me pretty weird when I walk in the dogs here in a little bit. But that's same guy was talking about my shirt up there in Bucky's. It's like, where can I get one of those? I'm like, well, this is like merchandise. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Welcome to Bucky's.
This was episode 101 of Fall Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle20. You can follow the show at CFB Fall Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We've got a lot of views, but not a lot of subscribers. We need you to subscribe. If you have a question, just leave it in the comments and we'll answer on the show as best as we can.
Yeah, you know, we love the fans, we love the listeners, the watchers. If you do have a question, like we'll answer it probably stupidly and poorly because that's kind of our jam, but you know, we'll answer it for sure.
No doubt about that. We have the ACC preview coming up on Thursday. We'll do the G5 there on Monday, and then I think the show before the season we'll kind of go through there and we'll give like our playoff predictions,
Mhm.
national championship. We're also going to probably do like if we had a Heisman vote, so our top three. That's who we're getting in there,
Yeah.
and still trying to formulate that last episode. But yeah, we're really excited. And even more importantly, on Saturday, we are going to be coming to you semi-live
Yeah.
after Dublin's finest there with Georgia Tech, FSU with 3 yards in a cloud of punt. And we're just going to play some Marty ball, run, pass, punt. Let's go.
Dude, it's the only way to do it, only way we know how, Marty Ball. That's the defining principle of false start.
I think Midtown's decided to be quiet right now. What a time to be alive.
You know, just in time for the end of the show. Thank you, Midtown. Always delivering exactly what we want.
Thank you, Midtown. We love the all of you. And this is False Start.